the subject of today's discussion. And I'm extremely delighted to have a diverse set of panel from different industry and get their thoughts around what does digital transformation mean to them, the opportunities, challenges. We've got folks on edutech, we've got agri-tech, we got food and beverage, and then life sciences. So for diverse industries, so it'd be good to sort of harness and get their inputs on the role of GCC and what how do they contribute towards digital transformation for their parent organization. So without any further delays, I'll probably pose this question to all of them, which is, how do they see the strategic role that each of your capability centers play in the global context, as well as some good examples of key initiatives that aids in digital transformation, and if you can slightly touch on where you are in that transformation. We'll probably go from left to right, Naveen.
Hello everyone. So my name is Naveen Krishnan. I am from an organization called Pungi. We have a business services based out of India. We are a 67 billion turnover company. Now we have recent acquisition of an organization called Vidyaran. So from a GCC perspective, we have this GBS organization in India. One of the biggest advantages as a GBS or as we evolved in the last couple of years is how do we generate value for the parent organization. Value creation is one of the primary contributions of the GBS organization. It can be in different forms. Earlier it's all about centralization and getting center of excellences, delivery excellence in these organizations, where we contribute to the bottom line directly through labor arbitrage and in terms of centralization. Now we are come to a stage where we need the benefits of digital arbitrage. How much of digital we can use in every process we do, where it impacts the organization, the speed of execution of business, and also the cost efficiency in which we operate the GBS organization, and overall as well. See, we are now 5-6 years in India now, it's over 6 years now. We are 800 employees in India and 7 delivery centers. The biggest advantage we have is we have a strong connect with most of the stakeholders across the organization and across functions. So any digital initiative being done through GBS organization, that's very easy to do the change management and also create value quickly. So we have the advantage of identifying impactful use cases. Though we talk about digital and so many stuff in terms of technology, but what is underlying thing is how do we identify the impactful use case and how do we articulate ROI and how we bring value to the business. I think as a GBS organization, we have a lot of visibility to most of the functions in the organization, and we also co-located with IT in most of the regions. So that gives a big advantage in terms of synergy between function and IT, and that contributes towards the value creation for the organization. That's one of the biggest strategic positioning we have in terms of as we evolved in the last couple of years.
Thanks, Naveen. Ashish. All right, thank you, Naveen, and thank you. If you look at the GCC landscape today, it's changing, immensely. Being a back office earlier to having global roles sitting out of GCCs. If I take my example, I work for a company called Revity, which is into healthcare diagnostics and life sciences. A few for global roles, for example, our global CIO is based out of GCC in India. Our chief automation officer is here. I head the data analytics for the organization. I sit out of here. So the landscape is changing. People realize that, of course, I'm not going to get into a lot of details about arbitration versus talent pool. So people realize that there's a lot of talent pool available over here. A lot of digital transformation programs are being actually not only executed but conceptualized over here in GCC. So just to take a few examples, if we just talk about, let's say, our cross-selling efforts, we've got a lot of companies during COVID, a lot of healthcare life science companies across UK and US. How do we cross-sell across these companies? We are executing out of India, the entire team must create a management implementation. We are building a platform right out of GCC here in India. We call the data platform, we call it RAID. Gravity AI and data platform. So I can go on and on and on. Our FP&A functions, their presence is increasing in India. Our material planners are being hired in India. So there's a lot which is happening in India from a GCC, from a digital transformation perspective. Again, I can go on and on, but in the interest of time, I'll just pass it over.
Alright. Thanks folks, I'm Rishi. So I work for a company called Elucian, which provides enterprise software for higher education. So this is just the everything that's beyond high school. Right? So our market is primarily in the US and we are in North America and we are the global leader there. About 60% of the market is our customers. So the way we look at, and from a GCC perspective, also I'd probably be a little bit unique here because we have been here in India for close to 25 years now, over a period of time, right? Starting with acquisitions. So in fact, we just celebrated one employee's 25th anniversary last week. Right? The way we look at, as we build and deliver SaaS software as a service, the way we are seeing transformation happening is, number one, we all talked about it. We are moving beyond GCC the conversation is no longer about cost. It is about value. It is about moving up the value chain and being able to do strategic things from here that may not be possible to do from other parts of the world. A very simple example here, right? So we have done, we decided a couple of years ago that we are not going to have dedicated testing roles. So rather than saying let's eliminate those roles, we built a program in India to say how do we upskill all of these folks. We don't know what they will do, but let's do the upskilling, let's get them ready with the right skills. And then last year we were able to actually take on a project, a major new capability that had not been staffed for like 2 years. Because we can't add more headcount. And we picked that up, we are driving it, our owners, because we are owned by private equity, Blackstone and Vista Equity Partners. And so now we are able to go to the board and talk about things there. From India, we are driving this new capability that is going to be a global capability, right? So talking about roles, it's similar. Right? So my role in India is I'm responsible for global rollout outside of North America. So anything that happens in any of the other regions, I'm sort of responsible for rolling out. So I think the conversation that I said about GCCs is really about adding more value now. It's not about cost. And there's plenty more that we will be doing over the next few years.
I think nothing different from what you've heard already, but the journey for me in Kraft Heinz has been, I would say, slightly different. It's predominantly been an evolution, like the way GCC have evolved. So obviously, any GCC in India starts with transactional services, then you bring in value-added services. We are at a phase where we are becoming a digital GCC now. What I mean by digital GCC is not looking at introducing technology to create any fancy output, but to introduce technology to solve a business problem. That's what we are focusing right now. So given Kraft Heinz being such a large food company, for me, when you work in a CPG unit, everything you do revolves around the 3M. Either you manufacture, or you move the product, or you market the product. So everything we're seeing in the digital transformation touches these three aspects of how do I make sure that I transform the way I manufacture, how do I make sure that the way I move my product, which is the supply chain, becomes more advanced and transformational, and most importantly, how do I make sure that the product reaches the customer in the most cost-effective way without any compromise on the quality. So whenever we are thinking about introducing digital transformation in anything we do, we like to keep these 3 M's as the core at the back of our mind, and then select what suits the need of the respective, let's say, stage of the value chain that we are driving at GCC. And I'm pleased to say we were just having jokes about it when we were sitting in the speaker lounge. But multiple companies are trying different things, but I would always emphasize to stick on to what is the business problem we're trying to solve, and technology is just an enabler for us to get us there.
Thank you guys. Some great points. So if we were to summarize, we heard about how GCCs are no longer a cost arbitrage sort of perspective. It's now transformed or elevated itself to be more strategic enabler for the corporate. And also Rishi and Ashish spoke about how they see global roles being institutionalized here in GCC. The 3M model, which is it's a great way to sort of measure the digital transformation journey, as well as we heard from AgTech in terms of their financial areas that they potentially see huge benefits in terms of digitizing opportunities. But digital transformation is it cannot be confined to just digitizing a part of the process. It is a culture, it's a mindset, it is it's transformational thinking. It's a lot of these things that need to come together. So that segues into my next question to Rishi. How do you see innovations being run out of your center, and how do you sort of have a seat at the table in those conversations and start to really look at things being more strategic in nature?
So when we think about innovation, right? So innovation, typically when we think about a GCC, the teams, the organization is usually starting from a little behind, because there are things being moved over from maybe your headquarters, older products, people are ramping up on understanding those technologies, right? Every now and then, something game-changing comes. I don't know if you guys have heard of something called GenAI. I told them I wanted to say the G word first, and we were thinking of having it written in. Every time someone says GenAI, you have to wait. But those are, I would say, transformational events, right? We don't get to experience too many of them. When something like GenAI comes, it is a level playing field. Everybody is starting off kind of at the same place. So making sure that we build that mindset that, hey, let's go grab this opportunity. Make sure, so it's not that, we need to learn this from anybody else, right? So everyone can go learn. It's all out there, and we can all start from the same place. And we can innovate at the same place. So that's one thing we've been doing a lot, where we set up communities of practice, making sure that people are sharing information, talking to each other. Even if it is just wild ideas of let's do this, let's do that, right? At the end of the day, of course, as Naima said, you do want to focus some of that energy towards your business problems, right? But having that ability to just think freely is important. So tied to that, we also build incubation teams, right? Where we basically say that, okay, let's take a team of a small team of 4-5 people and have them go try out things quickly. As something gains traction, hand it off, kind of graduate it to another team that is going to now take it and put it out there. So we've already had one such success, where something was incubated partially here and in Ireland, and now we are taking it over. The third part I would say is culture, as you said, right? So culture is very important when you want to drive innovation. The culture of being able to take risks, being able to fail, being able to so we encourage people to go take part in hackathons. We run our own hackathons, globally as well as in India. And those are just ways, especially with the younger generation, right? So they are just bursting with ideas. They've got so many new things they want to try, right? So kind of being able to talk to that before, right? I think I heard this in the previous panel. What's in it for me? So making sure that they understand that we want them to succeed, because their success is our success. And yes, we will put some guardrails to make sure you don't go out and build something completely, not related to what we do. But providing that, that attitude is something I think culturally, I would say, just looking at all of our centers around the world, we have probably been able to do it the best. And maybe it's just a societal thing for us. People wanting to come together, work together, spending a lot of time together, in spite of our traffic issues. So that I think is a big part, the culture part. And finally, I would say from an innovation perspective, I would also say as GCC leaders, we should be thinking about inorganic. What is the next big thing out there? Are there acquisitions we should be trying to make here? What are those exciting, interesting things that are happening in the market that could be complementary for us? Right? And one last thing, transparency. So in order to build that mindset of innovation, we need everybody, right? Your managers, mid-level managers, frontline managers, employees, everybody should understand what are the problems we are facing. And and we can't tell you the solution, but at least if they know, okay, here's where I can contribute. Making sure that non-veil conversation is going on is very good. And I would say we do a very good job across the company, starting from our CEO down to our leadership levels. We try to make sure that people are aware of what is it we need and how they can help. So I think those are just a few things we do.
Anybody would like to sort of augment or take that question? Okay, cool. So I think what you said, Ashish, is extremely important, which is having an incubation center that sorts of not just organically look at problems, but also keep abreast with what's happening in the market, the trends, and look at partners that can maybe complement or get you there faster. So, moving to Nirima, I think you touched on some very interesting perspective, and you spoke about what you call manufacture, move, part of supply chain, and then the last one was go to market. How do you sort of measure it? At the end of the day, the constant one consistent question that everybody or every one of the leadership team asks is, so what? Right? So how do you answer the so what question?
I think that's an interesting question because we more often than not struggle to measure the outcome of digital transformation. What I have seen in my experience is that we go out there, we experiment, we start coming up with multiple modules, we introduce machine learning, we harp on to every shiny object out there, and we try to implement a lot of things at the same time everywhere, right? But where we struggle is how do we tie the digital transformation to the operational efficiency, the discipline of identifying what is the output the technology is producing for us. So in my view, I'd like to just probably give you one simple example. We try to do this project in our company where I'm taking a simple example of the Heinz ketchup. Everybody knows that there's a standard recipe of how that ketchup is produced. We have more than 12,000 SKUs that we have in the company and multiple plants across the world. The idea is every bottle of ketchup that comes out of our assembly line has to exactly taste the same, look the same, feel the same. We looked at how do we solve this problem of making sure that the deviation from the standard recipe is as less or nil or even absolutely zero to maintain the standard. So when we introduced the advanced machine learning and the AI in this component of identifying defects right at the assembly line to make sure that our yield percentage increases and we reduce the wastage so that the output is measured. So what we did was we started tying our metric to the business problem. If I'm facing that out of the 12,000 SKUs, I'm able to rationalize that the top 15% of those SKUs are my contributors, which are the basket pullers in a typical food industry. What am I going to do to make sure that that percentage remains intact? And how does technology help me measure the reduction in the wastage? So when you talk about operational efficiency and using AI of any digital platform that you want to use there, it has to give you an output that results in the business problem solution. It cannot be the number of fancy dashboards I create or the number of data scientists I put there and the number of output reports that are created. If it's not adding value to my contribution margin, if it's not helping me improve my yield or reduce the waste, then that particular transformation has done nothing for the company. That's how, in my view, it needs to be tied back. And what I've seen is not just in the area of a particular CPG, but even in the finance space. When I was working for a beer company earlier, it was the same case. Every time you do a digital transformation, you need to tie it back to the operational effectiveness of a process and have a crystallized KPI. how it's improving the business, be it the increase of sales volume of a beer or reduction of costs, or the time at which you make sure that the beer is landing in your doorstep. So I think for me it would all boil down to what is it doing for the business, how is it making it more faster, cheaper, and more effective, and technology is just a subset of how we achieve that.
So, never to lose track of the original intent or the business goals and objectives. So everything that you do at the end of the day needs to sort of aggregate or roll into that top level mission, vision of the organization.
If I can add a few points to this, so a few examples of the KPIs that we measure is that we revamped our e-commerce business, our web commerce business company team. We measure on a regular basis, on a monthly basis, what is that percentage of web commerce business we're getting as compared to the total business. Of course, we have targets in our mind. In the next couple of years, we want to take our e-commerce business to this level. So that's one simple example, and that's the reason that was logic behind revamping the entire e-commerce business. Another effort that the companies that we acquired, we want to cross-sell the products across geographies, North America, Europe, or we cross-sell. So one is the technical part, one is the functional part, the compliance, trade compliance, etc. So while we work on this, we measure, how effectively do we cross-sell our product. So there are a lot of KPIs that our leadership measures in terms of, how effective our transformation journey is.
Thanks, Ashish. And I'll probably throw the next question to you as well, which is, what are some of the challenges and opportunities that you see, especially with respect to GCC challenges and opportunity in the role that they play in digital transformation?
Yeah. See, one big challenge I'll say is that you take calls till late night, work in a global role, and then you call in early morning to a conference like this, beating Bangalore traffic. So yeah, of course, the timeline is of course a challenge. You work in a global role in a GC setup, so you work with your counterparts who are globally spread, and you need to have that overlap hours. You need to work with your functional counterparts who are spread all across the world. So that for sure is there. But if I look at the setup from a setup perspective, from a digital transformation perspective, I think one big challenge that we really feel today is the long hiring cycles. Getting someone onboarded in less than 3 to 4 months is a dream. It is tough. People used to say that during COVID times, it's difficult to hire people, find the right talent, get them onboarded at the right time. We still face that challenge in terms of right talent. So it went to an extent that early this year we decided that we plan to hire a lot of AI engineers. We're going to build a lot of capability. That's when we decided, no, let's not hire. We will go out to the market. We will identify which companies have the right solution. So we work with a lot of companies, Microsoft, Avnat. Then a shift that we brought in was that we started reaching out to a lot of startups over here. And a couple of companies that we work with, there's a company called True Gradient who's doing energy optimization in our plants. I think they're doing a fantastic job. So of course there are problems, there are solutions. Another is that functional knowledge. How do we increase functional knowledge? We get some great talent over here with technical skills. How do we increase the functional knowledge? Because if you do not have the functional knowledge, you are going to restrict yourself. Technically, how far will you go? So I think yes, talent development, having the right talent base, and see, ultimately it's all talent, right? I can bring in Gen AI, but I cannot say, hey, OpenAI, fix everything for me. Someone has to do it. Who is that? So that's the employee base, that's the talent that we have. And everyone sitting in this room wants talent. So everyone is fighting for the right talent. So I think that's one tough call to make, one tough journey to have. Time zone challenges, functional knowledge. So I think I would say those are some of the challenges that we face today.
Navneet, would you like to take the same question?
So you touched about talent anyway. So the other big challenge would be to identify the right use cases. So we talked about output. So whatever we are trying to do, it should have a definitive impact either on the top line or the bottom line, so that it improves my productivity, and that's the purpose of existence of the business itself. So identifying the right use cases will also be a challenge, and obviously the talent is the other aspect of it. And then articulating the return on investment. So I have a huge budget. So articulating that with our internal stakeholders will also be a big challenge. We have to appropriately articulate it we have to articulate the return of the investment, whatever we are trying to make, and the value it will bring. When we say value, it's all about hard savings. There are also soft savings, what we call it. It's all good to have, it improves my efficiency, but will it convert into hard saving, improving my productivity and cash flow? These are very important for decision making. And at last, on the change management also, though I have a right use case, when we have to do the change management as well, not only from internal stakeholders, sometimes the external stakeholders as well. It also changes my business process also. So there's an impact on the business process. So change management also is a challenge when we foresee when implementing new technologies.
Thanks, Naveen. So, creating a business case is extremely important to, and the challenges around creating those business cases. And you touched on talent, so I'll open up the talent question to all of you guys. And talent is obviously the most sought out. We are in the hub of a city where talent is up for grabs, but it is extremely competitive also. There is, of course, going into the market to acquire talent, but I also want to ask you guys as to how do you see your own organization's upskilling and cross-skilling capability, and what you guys are thinking around that?
Maybe we can take a stab at this. I think multiple levers being used in acquiring the right talent and also the skillful talent, right? I think everybody in the world looks up India as a massive talent country. We are able to produce tech talent, we are able to produce all kinds of talent, but at the same time, in practical sense, we've also struggled to still put the right person on the right job. That gap of when we look at the university graduate coming out of college and getting integrated into a company's culture and the ways of working tends to take some time in its evolution. So at least in Craft Times, we're trying multiple things. We're looking at developing or upskilling our functional talent, as we call them, as SME subject matter experts. Now that requires a lot of investment from the organization to bring the talent closer to the business. One of the challenges we face at GCC is, if I'm sitting in Ahmedabad, that's where our center is, how does people sitting in my team actually get the feel and sense of the challenges that happen in a plant, in a factory, in a supermarket, or the supply chain link itself, right? How do I create that experience for the employees sitting so far away? And if I don't do that, they're not going to get the feel of being close to the business, and they're not going to solve business problems. All they could probably do is manage regular day-to-day BAU tasks, but the minute you're posed with a business problem to solve, they're lost. So I think one is developing the SME deep experts in the processes where you stay narrow and you go deep. The other type of talent upskilling that you can definitely look at is creating the pipeline, right? Pipeline. Like for example, we had this very good internship program where we brought people from IIMs being in Ahmedabad, that helps as well. So some of these smart graduates coming, becoming a part of the organization and learning from the start what they see about the food industry, and then picking up skills that can really help them take up complex roles. And we are also trying a lot of other areas in terms of bringing diversified population into our center. Like I can tell you, we've managed to attract talent from more than 26 states within the country. I think we've been able to do that because we're providing flexibility, we've been able to articulate what careers look like for them if they join an organization like ours. And hence, then it's also helping us to kind of bring them in and then upscale them, right? So upskilling can come in many forms: on-the-job training, classroom trainings, bringing closer to the business, but it's a constant effort. I don't think it ever stops.
And I would echo many of the things Naima said. Right? So in our case, higher education, the subject matter expertise does not really exist in India. At least the markets that we are serving. Right? So the approach we have taken there is we have been hiring a lot of interns, not interns. I mean, fresh graduates. They come in to do an internship and then we make them an offer. And they come in completely fresh without any sort of biases that I can't do this work, I can't learn that. And we find that they are extremely eager to go learn things, they are ready to put in the time, reach out to folks, and take all of those steps. The other big thing I would say is yes, hiring talent here is difficult, the right talent. But and this is where it is important to move past the cost arbitrage discussion, right? So when I want to hire a senior, like a technical fellow, I'm going to have to pay market rates, maybe even more. But that one person can create an outsized impact on the organization. Third part is upskilling, making sure that we are constantly getting our people upskilled. So rather than all having to rely on the market, make sure you're getting the most out of your own folks. Right? So there are 3 or 4 things. Then we have got other programs, leadership programs for making sure more women are getting into those positions. We started a restart program for women who have been on a break, anywhere from 5 to 10 years, to be able to come back. So I think a lot of these programs, they increase the talent pool, but they also create a sense of what the company is about, what is our culture, what is our ethos. We are still fully remote. I mean, we allow full remote flexibility. We have an office here, but we have, I would say, at least half the people are outside of Bangalore, outside of Karnataka. So all those things, I think, coming together, helps us to sort of solve that talent problem.
All right, I think we probably we're past the time. So thank you so much. I think we heard about cultural importance in the for the GCC to participate in the global digital transformation efforts, not losing track of the intent, the vision of why we do what we do. And we touched upon many other aspects like reinventing the business models and looking at transformation areas. So thank you so much, all of you guys, for joining this, and appreciate all of you guys listening. Now let's go have some lunch.